Welcome everyone, Division 2 Legacy action now between Ivan Alfonso and John Harmon. This is recorded by Ivan. We haven't seen much of John on screen at all, I don't think, and since he's been playing X-Mage League. You can see there I've got Legacy Aficionado written down because he has an overall... I was curious because he just seems to always be winning, but he's got a pretty bad record in Standard and Modern. I think he's one of those players that plays the leagues primarily for the Legacy. So I went back and had a look at his Legacy record. He's actually 20-2 overall. I've got a proviso there outside of Division 1. I'm going to show you a stat in just a second. And I believe he plays out of California. There's a stat. He's Season 5, 6-0. Season 6, 8-1. Season 7, when he went to Division 1, he finished 2-6. This is his Legacy record. And last season, Season 8, back to 6-1. So when he's not playing in Division 1, he's got a very, very good win percentage. A 20-2 overall record. Ivan was, probably by his own admission, was pretty mediocre for a couple of seasons, and he had a brilliant season last season. Finished second in the division and made the finals in 3 different categories. So he'll be looking for another solid season, as he's on Legacy Eldrazi. John is on. I don't know this deck too well. Obviously, it's dredge. I'm gonna call it Manaless dredge because he hasn't played any mana yet. You can see a whole heap of cards. The prized amalgam in his graveyard. There's a Golgari thug. So obviously, whatever it is he plays, it works for him. I don't know if John's been playing the same deck consistently over the seasons, but suddenly, just like that, he's got a lot of power on the board. So Ivan would have been happy with his turn 3 Reality Smasher, or particularly after having a Chalice, but you'd imagine Chalice is probably going to be out come sideboard, as that's 12, 13 power on the board. There is a bit of defense on the other side, but it looks like as well for Ivan a bit of land flood there. You can see he's only got 3 lands in hand. So he's going to block the Matter Shaper, take 7, so there's actually a 2-turn clock on the board here for John. Gets that Narcomoeba back into the grave. I don't know if there's a way for it to come back. Yeah, Ikarod's are really annoying. It just keeps coming back as well. This is a deck. I'm not going to call it a glass cannon deck, but I think it's absolutely impossible to win if there's any sort of graveyard hate in play. So, I mean, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think it's a case of pray to the gods they don't have anything to stop the graveyard, and then do your thing. Like a turn 1, like a Leyline of the Void or a Grafdigger's Cage would just be lights out. As you can see, Ivan down to 4 now. I think he's just... There's a bridge from below, so that's going to trigger multiple times with the creature that died. And Ivan's seen enough, so we're going to game 2. I'm just looking at his... Well, he's had to mulligan, so you can see there's no... There's no graveyard hate in this hand from Ivan. And even Thought Not Seer, I don't know what you would target. Like, if I'm playing this dredge against this dredge deck, this might be a spoiler for anybody that's going to be facing me in the future. I'd probably just play my own game and hope I win, because I really don't know what's going on. That's why my commentary even here is a bit one-sided. I don't really understand how... I mean, a bridge from below we see in Modern a little bit. I know the card, but I just don't see how this deck seems to be so consistent. I've seen a few people have played it. I think one of our previous Grand Champions, Emerson Lardy, played Manaless Dredge as well. But Cloud Post, Glimmer Post, so he's Ivan's actually not too far off at Ulamog. He's got to get to 8. Oh no, sorry, it's Eldrazi Ivogan that reduces it. No, so he's got 2, 4, 6... Yeah, he's 2 turns from Ulamog. I think here even Ulamog wouldn't save him against a pretty established board. I'm surprised the Chalice is still in there, because there's nothing to counter. Ugin is a good one here. It's going to flood the board with cheap blockers. You can see the bridge from below is in the grave. That's why he's trying to get rid of the Narcomoeba. John's trying to get rid of his own Narcomoeba, I mean. So when the Narcomoeba dies, the bridge from below will trigger. Well, it's going to trigger here anyway on the block. And this is why Ikarod's so good, because it's going to come back again. That's an Eldrazi temple underneath that spirit. Apologies for any background noise. These idiots have just been digging up the road and doing roadworks for about a week now outside my house, and they just don't seem to be getting anywhere or doing anything except making noise. One zombie, two... I think it's Ulamog time next turn, and that would just be lights out on this current board. There's a Narcomoeba trying to get a bait again, but he doesn't work. As he plays another Ancient Tomb. So many lands here for Ivan, but I think he's pretty safe. I think he's got the mana on board to play Ulamog. I think flashing that will just bring a concession. I don't know why he didn't actually do this prior to attacking, because he could have exiled both rather than have the other one die. I don't think John can beat a 10-10 indestructible. He cannot. He concedes, and so we're going to go to game 3. Is Ivan going to pull out a win here? I think you can see the points difference between the two. John enters on 7 points and Ivan enters on 24. 24 over 2 rounds, of course, means that Ivan is undefeated. So what happens here, I don't really know what John is trying to draw into. Or he's trying to dredge, I should say. You can see 2, 3, 4 lands. So he's one short of the Reality Smasher, but he's I think he's kind of crossing his fingers that he can last long enough to get into all his dust. I don't think that's going to work though, because it just they sacrifice. So once he sacrifices, they just go to the grave and do the same thing all over again. He really needs either Grafdigger's Cage. I don't know if Relic of Progenitus is played in Legacy. I don't know what other colourless graveyard hate there is. But we saw from game 1, Reality Smasher is probably not going to get the job done here. Ikarod comes on, so he's at 2, 4, 5. He's one away from all his dust. So this board is not too bad for him at the moment. I think he can... Reality Smasher can play some defense until all his dust gets online. Phantasmagorgon. Discard 3 cards, return something. But you can see Ivan on 10 life, so he's facing down 5 damage next turn. That's I can see 1 prized amalgam. What's Cabal Therapy gonna name? Oh, he did it on himself, naming Bridge from Below. Did he? Let me have a look. Oh no, Thought Not. He named Thought Not Seer. Well, if he's got another Cabal Therapy, here. How did he even pay that black mana? I'm confused, I don't know. Two for Whirlpool. So he's drawing more cards. I don't know how this is going to... He draws a number of cards in his hand and he discards that many cards. There's another Creeping Chill. A Prized Amalgam. Creeping Chill is going to put him to 7. Prized Amalgam is going to trigger here, so 2, 4, 5, 6. He'll have 9 lethal damage on board. He's just 1 point short of being able to do it through that Reality Smasher. Oh, he's got another Cabal Therapy. Somehow he can pay for it. Oh yeah, because he's sacrificing creatures to pay for it. He's going to name all his dust, so this one is over. John is going to take down Legacy 2 games to 1. You can see Ulamog stranded in hand. Surely he doesn't have a third... I mean, he can't even get a third All His Dust because he needs a land to play it. So this one is over. John takes Legacy 2 games to 1, and his excellent Legacy record is going to continue. For Ivan, it's at least his first loss of the season, so he's still very well positioned in the league.